Welcome to the Heartline, D.C.'s live forum about issues faced by the homeless and the poor in the nation's capital. I'm Mike Cortese at the mic, host of the Heartline, the president of Gospel Rescue Ministries, a faith-based rescue center located near Chinatown for poor and homeless men and women. And we've got a great show for you today. In fact, we are honored on the Heartline to have Reverend Dr. Suzanne D. Johnson Cook, and we're just going to call her Dr. Sujay. Good morning, Doctor. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Well, we're just happy to have you here. We've also got my co-host here, Latoya Doster. How are you doing, Latoya?
I'm doing well.
Did you have a good weekend?
Yes, we did.
And we've got the Reverend George E. Holmes here, and he's a member of the President Barack Obama's National African American Clergy Leadership Network. How are you doing, Reverend?
Doing fine, Brother Cortese.
Glad to have you here. And at Gospel Rescue Ministries, we're a rescue center, and we talk a lot about what we're doing for the men and women there, but we're always concerned about the children. And this is, as we've said, the decade of the children. And we're trying to do what we can. We're talking about having a parents' academy down there. But what you do as a parent has such an impact on society in general. And our guest today is somebody like, if we could de-engineer and figure out exactly how to raise a child properly, this is probably what we would do. Because Dr. Sujay has done so many things. She is, in fact, President Barack Obama's nominee to be the ambassador at large for international religious freedom for the United States of America. She's also had numerous awards, and I won't even go over those right now. She's had several firsts. She was the first black woman to be the senior pastor of the 200-year-old American Baptist churches. She's the first female chaplain at the NYCPD, and we're going to ask her about that. First woman elected president of the Hampton University Ministries Conference, and it just goes on and on. And again, I'd like to welcome you here, Dr. Sujay, and just ask you, what was it like growing up as a child?
It was a wonderful childhood. We had the best of all worlds, really. My parents were from the South, from the rural South, and they moved north, so we represented the first generation that did not have to go on our knees cleaning other people's kitchens, picking cotton and tobacco. Both my parents were in the fields, and so we were the emerging black middle class. My mother was a school teacher, and my father was a business owner. He started a watch guard security agency, but very much a committed family. So in the school year, we were in the north. In the summers, we were in the south with my maternal grandparents, and really learning the values and ethics of working hard, living right, loyalty to family, and then also giving back. My mother was a school teacher in Harlem. We lived in the North Bronx, and she would bring home every weekend children who were having challenges in their own lives, whether they were poor or whether their situation at home just was not stable, and we would have to share our home with these children. And so she was always generous, and we had to make sure that there was no differentiation. If we ate, they ate. If we went out to play, they went out to play. If we went to Freedom Land or to amusement park, everyone got the same amount of money. And so I grew up very balanced and very much part of the community. And to this day, my mother is now deceased, but to this day, when I go through the streets, I'm the daughter of Dorothy Johnson, because she was the legacy and the icon. And they just remember 5 generations of welfare children who never knew they were poor because she made their lives so rich.
News Talk 1450 WOL is everywhere you are at WOLDCnews.com.
Welcome back to the Heartline. This is Mike Cortese at the mic. I'm here with my co-host, Latoya Cirillo, and we've got Pastor John, and we're speaking with Dr. Dorothy Height. Dr. Height, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I've got to ask you another historical question. What was it like being with Dr. Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement in the early 60s?
Well, it was a great experience. But what I do have to say that I always felt that I was a part of a group. They were great men to work with. I did have to work for a little bit with some of them,
right,
on understanding the role of women. Mm-hmm. But basically, it was a great experience because we learned that to work together in unity did not mean uniformity.
Right.
That we had different approaches but we had a common cause. And that's what I think brought us together in a way that we worked together. And
Powerful.
we did it, prayed together, we did everything. But I think that many people don't realize that if you're always emphasizing your differences, you never get anywhere.
That's right.
You have to find common ground, and you have to have a determination and enough faith that you can do it to move ahead. And it was a great experience working with Martin Luther King, who I met when he was 15 years old.
Oh, really?
That's amazing. That's just amazing. I'm sure that all the peers at that time, if any one of them were on the show, would be saying the same sort of thing about you, because you clearly are at the same stature in terms of all the civil rights movement and leadership that was taking place at that time. In fact, your impact on America has cut across all aspects of the nation. What has been your most fulfilling work over the past decades? What would you say? And when I say the most fulfilling work that you've done over the past decades, what would that be? Any particular cause or I'd say event or effort that was made or something that you were engaged in? I mean, you've been all around the world. You've done so much across America. What has been some of the most fulfilling work that you've done? What's been the most? It can be a particular event. What really registers with you that you still think about when you?
Well, I think of the fact that we put Mrs. Bethune in Lincoln Park. I think of the Black Family Reunion.
Okay.
And what it means and what it can mean to our family. But you know what? When I'm always asked that question, the most important thing I think that I've done is that I started out as a young person. I had a sense of purpose, a sense of a God-given purpose for my life, and I've stayed with it. That, to me, I think has been my accomplishment. I'm now 97, and I'm still working on something. When I was in high school, I won a contest at Elks Hat on the Constitution of the United States, and I emphasized the 14th, 15th, 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. I won my college scholarship for 4 years.
Wow.
But even today, I'm still working to make the 14th Amendment its promise of justice under law, equal justice under law, trying to make that come a reality.
Mm-hmm.
And clearly, God's not done with you yet, and prayer has been a big part of your life. Can you talk about that a little bit? How prayer has acted as a part of what you've been able to do and accomplish in your life?
I think it's because I think that I have been very fortunate in having mentors like my mother and Mrs. Bethune and Eleanor Roosevelt and many people along the way, Dr. Benjamin Mays, and just so many people have been helpful to me. But you know, I learned through that you may have good mentors, but you have to want to be mentored.
Amen.
Right.
And you have to put yourself in a position to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been very helpful to me through life.
So an open heart is critical to the equation.
Pardon?
An open heart is very important, being willing and open to making that difference and being a part of it, and from the mentors, learning from the mentors.
Yes, and I see so many young people today who are almost afraid to open up.
Exactly,
Right.
Yep.
And what we need to help them to understand, if you have concerns, if you have problems, there's always some caring adult who will help you.
Mm-hmm.
And that you have to learn how to speak up and say, not in an argumentative way, but just say your problem.
You think?
Because I think
Go
people
ahead.
share those problems. That's why I feel with the family reunion, we say there's no particular kind of family, but we also have to be family with each other.
Right.
We have to treat each other like we're all brothers and sisters and be families. In fact, Maya Angelou put it in our pledge for the Black Family Union. She said, "We are not just keepers of our brothers and sisters. We are brothers and sisters." And that's what I think we have to learn, and what to me is very helpful.
Web at WOLAM.com.
Welcome back to the Heartline. This is Mike Cortese at the mic, and I have LaToya Cirillo here, my co-host, and Pastor John's here, and we have our special guest on this Father's Day edition of the Heartline, Chairman Gray. Chairman Gray, we were talking a little bit about the schools. I think LaToya had a question. LaToya, did you have a question for Chairman Gray?
Definitely, and I know that education is important to everybody, and one of the things that I am a stickler for is experience when you're in high school all the way up through college. And I know that DC Council has this wonderful youth internship program. If you could let our listeners who are paying attention right now to let them know about that program, maybe even the youth who are listening right now.
Oh, it's really, we think it's a fabulous effort. We just started it. We spent a number of months planning it. We kicked it off in February with our first group. We had 8 young people who were participating in it from local high schools. You have to be between 16 and 19 years old. You have to you have to apply for the program in order to participate. You have to be either a junior or senior in high school in order to be a part of it.
Is there a grade level?
No, they typically are 11th or 12th graders. Sometimes, we've looked at it and said, it'd be great to have 11th graders because then they get a semester of experience and they go back and help spread the word to other students in their school. We've had them from charter schools. We've had them from D.C. public schools thus far. And the first semester was absolutely fantastic. I call it a page-like program.
Like the congressional page program.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And again, it's opening the door of the government to help our young people understand how the government works. Helps them also, I think, want to aspire to be a part of how you help shape a city, how you move it forward, and how you contribute to making the city better. And getting rid of, hopefully, the cynicism that says, that's the government, it's impenetrable, it doesn't work, and it's the enemy. We want them to see that they are the government.
Exactly.
That the people are the government.
Yeah, exactly. And from reading everything about you, I know that you have a very soft spot for youth involvement in the government. Where do you see it going probably within the next 5 years, 5 to 10 years?
In terms of this particular program?
This program and youth involvement in general within the DC Council, because you also have a youth council also, right?
We do. What we want to do is frankly open as many doors as we can, creating youth internships there and more of those.